So on the last one, we spoke on character, charisma, and personality, CPC. But today, we're going to get practical. So it's going to be shorter, but it's going to be more practical. So I want you to think when you're in environments where people are speaking and it's one-on-one, I want you to think about how much time you spend speaking. Even if it's at home with whoever you live with, how much time do you spend not speaking? And when you're thinking about that, or as you're thinking about that, I want you to think about how much time you spend listening. And for you to actually understand or know the answer to that question, which is probably zero, because most of the time we're on our phones or the TV's on in the background. And while the person's speaking to us, our eyes are on the TV or our eyes are on our phones. So we have believed that listening is not speaking, and that's not right or true. Listening, there's something called active listening. And now, active listening has a few things that come with the phrase or the term. Active listening is, like it says, you're actively listening. And the proof that you're actively listening is that you won't just nod your head. You won't just agree with what's being said, but you'll question in the midst of while somebody is speaking to make sure that you understand. So I could be saying, oh, so earlier on today, I went to a football session, and then you that's listening to me might interject or interrupt me, which isn't rude. As you're interrupting me, you might say, oh, a football session. We didn't have one today. Who was that with? And that shows me that you're listening, number one. Number two, it shows me that you care. And number three, it shows that you have an interest. So now going back to that previous one, somebody that presented themselves with charisma and personality, they might not actively listen to the people that have the power, which we're going to get into later on in the next course, who have the power to elevate them in the area that they're in. That might be at their workplace. That might be a scout that's come to watch some of you guys play. And because you're not actively listening, maybe you're on your phone while they're speaking to you. Character, character's off. So the practical task for you is to learn how to actively listen. Start asking questions while the person is speaking. Interrupt them because you want to know more. You want to be involved in the conversation, not just somebody speaking at you and you responding. You can do that on ChatGPT. If you're actively interested, if you're actively engaged, then the person will open up more because when you communicate with somebody about things that are vulnerable, a lot of the time, we kind of filter what we actually say. So there's what we actually want to say, but then we filter it. And we can't speak to everybody at the same level. There's three levels. Hmm. I'll say it now. I could have done this in another video. I'll go in the next one because this is crossing over into something else. In the next one, I'll go into this even more. But there's three levels of relationships. And I don't mean romantic relationships. I mean just three levels of platonic. Platonic meaning no emotion necessarily attached to the relationship. Number one is somebody that's on your level. Level could be mentally and emotionally, and also at the same stage that you're in at life. So that might be somebody that's at your school, but then their emotional and mental maturity might not be at the level that you're at. So you might realize that the conversation ends at how are you? Are you all right? There's no depth at all. The second stage is somebody that is a mentor. Now, a mentor meaning somebody that can guide you, somebody that can support you, and somebody that you can go to for advice. So for a lot of you, we're mentors in your lives because you receive support from us, you receive advice from us, you receive a range of different things from us. So in your lives, we are mentors. Now, The way that you relate with somebody at your level is not the same not the same way that you relate with a mentor. There's a shift. So the next one, I'll get back to that. The next one is somebody that you pour into. So as we review it, somebody that is at the same level as you, a mentor pours into you, and then you pour into somebody else. So that's somebody that could even be the same age as you, but you've experienced certain things that they can receive. Now, there's a lot of pride and ego, and it takes a lot of humility for someone at the same age to be able to receive. So, one of the things that all of us need to reflect on is, are we open enough to receive from anybody? There are children, 5-year-olds, that could say something to you that could change the trajectory of your life. But because you might look at them as just a little kid, you might not be open to receive what they have to say. You could be at a football match, playing at a football match in front of scouts, and a little 6-year-old could say, "Oh, he's injured, so you might as well start taking him on more." But because you looked at that young child as just, "Oh, like what do you know?" You missed an opportunity in front of a scout, and that was all because you weren't able to receive and be poured into. So the person pouring into you might not be a mentor in your life. It might be anybody. It can come in the form of anybody, any shape, any size. Now, the last one in reference to pouring into, which I started on, not many people at the same age as you will be able to receive, and that's fine. You're not meant to help everybody, and you can't save anyone. Your job and we are not in the business of saving, but you can offer support. If it's accepted, it's accepted. If it's not, that has no bearings on you. It's not your responsibility. Nobody is. So, looking at this in its totality, I want you to understand that when it comes to active listening and engaging in conversations, the way that you engage with that 6-year-old child is not the same way that you would engage with your parent or your guardian. And it's not the same way that you would engage with a mentor. It's not the same way that you would engage with a brother or a sister or a cousin. So you have to start learning how to engage in conversations and how actively that looks. Because the way, if you try to interrupt a child while they're speaking, they might not like that, but there's ways and you have to learn how to find the pockets. So the younger a person is, the more questions they will ask. And that's interesting because when you get into places, I need to be careful here, but when you get into secondary school stage, questions, you're told that questions are accepted. But the more you ask why, the more you'll get into trouble because not everybody that is in a secondary school environment has the answers to the questions. But that doesn't mean that you asking questions is wrong. So learn how to actively listen in conversations. Don't speak as much. Observe, listen, and you'll begin to start seeing the differences in how much you've been missing out on. You'll start to see that the people that you deemed as friends, there's no real depth there. Doesn't mean that there's a problem with them, but you need to start choosing your circle of friends and use where you want to go in life as a reference. So if you want to go to A, but every interaction you have with your friends, they're talking about G, they're talking about things that are nowhere near where you're trying to go. They take you away from what you're trying to do. They laugh at you for the effort and the work you're trying to put in. They're not at the same stage that you are at. And you need people that are at the same stage as you to get to where you want to go. You need people that have been to where you want to go or have access to get you to where you want to go to help you. And you need to be open to receive advice from everyone. That doesn't mean that you take on board the advice that they give, but you need to be open to it and never think that you have got to a place where you know everything. So, again, I'll see you on the next one and start actively listening.